All right, so here's my day two. I'm going to actually do a lot of progress today and tomorrow. I have the day off, and I'm going to do as much as I can. Right now, I'm working on the output speaker jacks, and I'm using a star washer or a lock washer like that on the jack. I'm going to put it in here, and what that's going to do, I'm not going to ground these these output jacks. That's going to be the only place that I have jacks that are grounded to the chassis. That's just a better design from my understanding, or at least in theory. And then we're going to have, obviously tighten it up with the washers and be careful not to scratch the surface. So what couple other things I'm working on here, or started working on this morning, is I added the pots and I measured each one. I ordered 5 pots and they all measured low. None of them, if you look at the Amplify Nation, 26.5, none of mine came in anywhere close to 250K. But I did have a difference. So this one was about 242, and then this one measured 225, I believe, which is low. It's on the lower spectrum. Remember that these tolerances are up to 20%, so they are still within tolerance. It's just none of them were really as high as the real John Mayer. So I'm going to have to do some investigation to see how I can order ones that are a little bit closer. But proportionately, I think this is going to do about the same because the low and the high, the mid is 100K, so that's not the same. But proportionately, this is a lot higher than that. This one actually was the lowest out of the bunch, so I put L on it. We're going to see how that goes. I'd started to wire up V1, so per the John Mayer, there's a metal film here. I am deviating a little bit from the John Mayer only on these two resistors, which are 22 mega ohm. I'm using precision metal film, 2 watters in there. It came with my Ceriatone kit a while back. The John Mayer has, I don't know if they're half watt or if they're quarter watt, but those are carbon film in these locations. It's not going to matter as far as metal film or carbon film, in my opinion, in this position. This is a polyester capacitor orange drop that is a different type of resistor or capacitor as used in the John Mayer, but I don't think it's going to matter that much. This is a Vishay Dale. This is a Vishay BC components, I believe, 470K, and then I have all 1 watt carbon film resistors if I need a carbon film. So mainly you're going to see a lot of carbon film that's 1 watt. Any metal film is probably going to be half watt, which is rated, I forgot what the rating is. I think it's 500 volts on those. Not all metal film resistors are the same. They could be 1 watt, but only rate at 300 volts. So if you're going to order resistors, be careful with that. I'm going to stop talking. I'm going to do a lot more soldering. All right, so this is my progress so far. I'm about ready to head for a lunch break. The light I'm going to use, or light holder, is a dialight. I found this one on amplifiedparts.com. It's a really nice light holder. I find that the real Fender ones are kind of flimsy, and what's great about this, it's just a one piece. You can use a jam nut to get in there. It does accept Fender style jewels, so there's no problem. Just goes right in. What have I been working on? I've been working a lot on the 9 pins and trying to button that up. I had a little back and forth on if I wanted to use the they're right here. If I wanted to use these orange drops that came with the Ceriatone, They're really nice. I used my new capacitor measurement reader. They measured out to spec and everything. But I was kind of running into size issues with this chassis, and everything wasn't kind of exactly fitting the way it did in my my Steel String Singer chassis. So luckily I did order. These are awesome. I mean, they're tiny. They're rated at 400 volts. They're Vichy polyester as well. So 400 volts polyester capacitors for the local negative feedback. They're awesome. They're lightweight. There's no chance of that really kind of getting weird. Yeah, so that's basically it. I've just been working a lot on getting this to look real nice, to route the paths. I connected up the reverb transformer, the reverb driver there, and yeah, I'm really happy with it. In some places like these 220K and then the what was that, 10 meg, I got brand new 1 watt resistors for that, because I kind of expected I was going to run into some issues making everything look real nice. So yeah, so this is what I'm doing so far. I am kind of following the pictures of the John Mayer that was presented. Here's a metal film resistor, and I added a 10K metal film resistor in that spot, which is the reverb. In theory, that's supposed to drop the noise floor for any of the signal going through it. I'm not going to do a comparison of that. I'm just going to take their word. Yeah, and go from there. I'm going to take a lunch break and continue this on. Oh, and before I go on lunch break, here's the exact capacitor that I'm using, those little tiny ones. Check that out. Polyester Vichy, 47 nanofarads. Real nice stuff. 5% too, so it's really tight tolerance. Alright, so here's a trick. I'm about to start the bus wire in the front of the panel, or the front panel of the amp. So what you do to straighten out, because a lot of times you're going to get a coiled up piece of bus bar, is you drill a hole just a tiny bit bigger than the diameter of the wire, and you put it all the way through a 2x4, and then you pull through at different angles. So basically you kind of want to do a full 360. I don't think I'll be able to hold my phone and do this sort of point of view, but you go back and forth basically. You go just tug back and forth a few times, and then sure enough, your wire will focus. It'll be nice and straight. So then all you have to do is just take it out, cut it to size. You're not going to be able to get the end, so if you want it perfect, just snip here and then snip on the other side of things. Way out of focus. But yeah, that's a neat little trick for getting your bus bar, once it focuses, straight. Alright, so at this point I'm feeling pretty good. I'm just about to take the monumental task of converting this, what looks like to be a mess right now, to use this, which is silver-plated aerospace grade 20 gauge wire. I already started to work on, I ran the bus bar since we last met, or my last video. So I'm starting to put it together, the front controls, and then I realized that this was something I wanted to do. I got 20 feet of it. Hopefully it's enough. But I want to convert these wires over to silver. Does it make a difference? I don't know. There's rumor that the blue wire that's used on the real John Mayer SIG is silver in some way, shape, or form. Here's a little hint, or not really hint, but sort of a physics lesson. Electrons follow, or they basically ride on the surface of wire, or the conductor copper, tin, whatever it is. So, the core isn't as important, in my opinion, as the surface is. So the fact that this is silver plated is, pretty good, if not just as good as the solid core. So I'm not too concerned about that. Some folks say that stranded causes phasing issues. I'm not quite sure about that. But I'm here to educate you and talk you through basically what's called a brain dump at my work, of all the stuff that we kind of know and make decisions based on that. So I'm helping you make a decision based on that ever since this video is published. So going to continue on. Basically, my plan of attack is to unsolder all the wires here. I mean, I'm going to do another trace like this soon. Where is it? Yeah, like Joyful Music 100. I'm going to do another trace, so all the wires I need to account for anyway, to make sure that I have everything good to go and marked down so I don't forget anything. So yeah, this is going to be a thing. But hopefully it yields some good results, some interesting results. So I'm going to just start going for it. And we'll meet soon. Alright, disassembling this board wasn't that bad. I do recommend that you get some printouts and some highlighter, some markers, because you're going to want to mark all the different cables, like I did up here, every single one. So you didn't forget anything. That's a good practice to get into. So I'm going to keep on keeping on. I'm going to keep with the color theme here. The blue and the white as much as I can. And the color should not matter. But I'm going to go with all blue, just because I only have blue silver tint. Alright, here's my progress so far. Changing out some of the wires. What I did find out and notice as I was kind of comparing the pictures of the real John Mayer with kind of my layouts that I've been using as reference is the white wires. That's I don't think there need to be any sort of critical quality to the cable. Either silver or regular stranded copper or tinned copper. But it looks like any of these kind of resistor capacitor pairs, to make it easy to identify, has white, and any sort of signal to and from the board here going to the octals, or sorry, not octals, the 9 pins are blue. So it seems like more signal oriented is blue, and ground oriented, there's black for ground, but more of a filtering, if you want to call it that. Anyway, making good progress. Going to continue this on and get some coffee because I don't know what words I'm saying right now. Alright, here's another tip. Since I am going to be doing my best to put all the wire connections underneath, kind of like the real one, I actually think that this is really clean looking. These coax cables are pretty brittle. These are Mogami, what is this? Low noise, very low capacitance, 2330. Got great reviews from a lot of folks. I like it a lot. It's easy to kind of strip back and make use of. But anyway, so I am just taking my hot glue gun, my DeWalt hot glue gun, just the standard hot melt that comes with it, and kind of anchoring these connections down, so that way when I'm wiring up to the pots, that doesn't put a lot of stress on the connector or on the conductor. So just be sure that you're done soldering in the areas that you're going to be hot gluing, because it will melt the hot glue, and it's not good for inside connections. So if you can, I didn't do a good job here, but try to avoid getting hot glue on where the solder connections are. All right, so now next, there's a couple wires or coax cables specifically around the reverb. So I had some leftover cables. If you see my color code, red means it's just, this is kind of like what Dumble did too, but red means it's just the center conductor, and then the blue end, which I need to trim these, the blue means that's where the end of, where the ground comes in. So each coax should have one ground point, not at both because that'll create a ground loop, but just ground over there, and then here's where the center conductor is. Alright, so this is it for today. It's about 9 or 10 hours. I know it may not look a lot, like a lot, but I feel like I've done an incredible amount of work. 2 hours of it was, I'll walk over here. 2 hours of it was just basically rewiring this using the silver plated wire. And we have now some coax runs, again with the Mogami 2330, I believe. Yeah. I know it's not white like the John Mayer amp. That's okay. This is a low capacitance cable. So if anything, they probably use a low capacitance, low loss cable in theirs. I believe it's an RG316 with white in the white jacket. But the Mogami is readily available to me. It's not white, but whatever. I'm not biased towards a particular color wire, so long as it performs, and Mogami hasn't let me down. So, one thing I did do different, and I think it's for the better, the original John Mayer SIG, you'll see over here on the master that there isn't a coax, but I added a coax for that run that goes in here over to the send tip, and you'll see Amplify Nation does the same thing. Ceriatone actually puts a lot more coax on there just to minimize any sort of chance of noise. I think that might have been an improvement as because basically what was this amp, 2005, 2007, and I believe that the coax does help. So instead of me chancing it and finding out that there's a squeal or something, I can't pull full volume without some oscillation, I put the coax on there. So you'll see my techniques in here for how I'm doing the coax. I check each connection afterwards just to make sure that I didn't accidentally overheat here and then the ground melted into the connector. So everything's good. Next thing tomorrow, I'm going to be dropping in the circuit board, I believe, and start wiring that up. Looking forward to it. This is exciting.